What's up, everyone? Hey,
Yo,
Beats and Bourbon is live here. Oh, what a week, man. I don't know about you, but this has been one. I'm not going to say a hell of a week, but it's been an interesting, long week for me.
it's been a hell of a week for me too.
Please elaborate, my friend.
No, I mean, it's been good. It's a lot of good stuff, but it's also like just running. It's been a travel week. I only just got back to Arizona a few hours ago. And so last week, I missed the show last week because I was traveling. So my middle daughter graduated from high school. And so we went to, she lives in Washington, D.C. Well, the DC area, really Maryland. But she lives there with my ex-wife, my first wife, and graduated high school, getting ready to go to college. But we've just been traveling since last Wednesday till today. So what we did was last Wednesday, left Arizona and flew to New York City. Stayed overnight to pick up my mom because she wanted to go to graduation and she doesn't really drive that much these days, not long distances. So flew to New York to pick her up, and then the next day got up. No, it was Tuesday when we left. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we drive to DC, get an Airbnb, or try to get an Airbnb, and then find out on the way that the Airbnb we reserved had a problem with the cleaner, and we were going to have to get a last minute switch. Fortunately, I had a good friend who's working all that out. It's just the little nerves of being halfway there and I don't have a place for you yet, but by the time you get to DC, we'll have a place for you to stay. So that's how it started off.
Comforting words, right?
So then graduation was great. Lots of great pictures and stuff. Stayed in DC till Saturday. It was cool. Got to hang out. Actually, we went to the there's a great museum there of African American culture. That's one of the newest museums in the Smithsonian. It's probably 5 to 8 years old now. But I'd never been, and so we went Friday and kind of did the tourist thing, and that was pretty awesome. And then drove back to New York on Saturday and hung out, and then Wednesday head out. Now we live on Staten Island, so getting to LaGuardia is just a trip in itself. It's you have to take carting your luggage through the city if you're taking. There's no express bus that goes directly to LaGuardia, so you got to take an express bus into the city, transfer to a train, and then the train takes you to an airport shuttle that runs. Takes about 10 minutes. So we did that. Get there to the airport, and our plane is delayed, and then this big storm hits. It's a storm that, depending where you were yesterday, it actually was started in the northeast. If you look at the radar, it was from Maine, and there's a big graph of water that went all the way down through DC and then headed out west all the way to Texas. And so no matter where the airplanes were going, they would have to try to cross this storm. And so everybody was grounded in every direction. And so our flight was supposed to take off at 6 and transfer in Denver to get back to Arizona. That 6 o'clock flight ended up not leaving until midnight. They just kept delaying it. So it was a 6-hour delay. And of course, our connection wasn't going to make it. So we left New York finally at midnight, got to Denver 4 a.m. New York time. And then they didn't put us up in a hotel, but they did reschedule us our flight. So Raisha and I pretty much slept, did the airport sleeping thing. Slept in the hotel, had breakfast. I mean, not in the hotel, slept in the airport, had breakfast in the airport, and caught a 9 a.m. flight out this morning and got back to Tucson probably 4 hours ago. And then got here, and our luggage did not get here with us. So we're still waiting to hear from the airport where our luggage is. So that's my day. How was your day?
It was pretty good. I know, I have nothing after that. Honestly, mostly what I'm working on is getting a bunch of tracks ready for this conference that I'm attending next week. Also made some major decisions as to a couple of new things that I'm going to try doing in the next few months.
Okay.
So just starting down that road. and it's without getting into too many details of it, I'm kind of doing I'm going down a new path in my music career, kind of on the down low, kind of just putting some feelers and starting to just gonna give it a try here in the next month or
Nothing you
two.
want to share on this. Nothing you
Nothing I
want
want
to
to
share on
share
the podcast.
publicly at all. But I'll talk to you about it after after the
Yeah, I'm
call.
curious.
Yeah,
I'm very curious
definitely
now.
will, man. Definitely gonna talk to you about it after, but yeah, just not ready for it to be public yet. But yeah, aside from that, just working really hard with all the sync it stuff that I'm doing, and just honestly, like I've been doing a lot of singing, a lot of tracking, a lot of just giving notes on songs and trying to get them across the finish line in time to present at this conference next week, which should be cool. I wish I was at NAMM. I really wish I was going to go. I was actually planning to go out to LA this week and work at
For
cool.
NAMM, which is going on right now.
No, I wasn't
Or
going to go out
expressive.
there for NAMM. I was going out there to work with an artist and catch
Mm,
my bro's 50th birthday party. But
mm.
I didn't make that, and I didn't make the gig ended up not working out. Just didn't end up working out for me. So yeah, I ended up staying here, and it's a good thing actually, because I think like the more traveling, the more chance of like it's rough, man. It's like and I've spent enough time this year being sick. I didn't want to roll the
Well, yeah, I'm not
think about like not rolling
actually.
the dice on that.
I've known a couple of people who've gotten sick this past week. Another composer of mine who's been like uber careful
Yeah.
all throughout COVID. And I think I don't know. I'm guilty of it. I'm wasn't one of those who's like all 2019 was like uber careful, telling Raisha like, no, we're not going to this event. We're not going here. We're locking ourselves in the house. I'm staying here. And just this whole mood now of like just kind of being more relaxed. And even on this trip, sometimes I wore my mask, sometimes I didn't. It was just
Yeah.
my mind is just more lackadaisical now. But another composer, Matt, who's been on our program on Control Camp a lot, he's one of the most careful people I know, but he even admitted, like, he's similar, been kind of laxing off, and his whole family came down with it last week. And then I'm on the way back from New York. My mom messaged us when we landed and said that she doesn't have any symptoms, but she tested positive. And so now
Man, yeah.
now we have to get tested. And, we're back. I mean, we've all been together, kind of, and we've been traveling on planes, and so um, it's something we gotta check for.
Yeah, it's a thing, man. It's a thing. I don't know. It's just as soon as if you're out there where it's floating around and you're not wearing a mask, it's I don't know. It's it's not inevitable, but it's I think it's also
We're doing it's travels. I mean, I went to a graduation last week. I went just in New York, getting ready to go to the same conference as you. We're going to the Durango next week, going to LA, getting back on another plane in a hotel, mixing and mingling. Like it's
beats and bourbon live, man.
yeah, for real, because that's gonna be Thursday too. We
Yeah, I'll take a
need to turn the
laptop and
phones on.
maybe we can take it to the bar or something like that and
I'll have my
do a live stream.
yeah.
We can
I'm
do a
gonna have
live
my
stream from
laptop
the
too.
bar.
I think we should
The real
pull,
beats and bourbon, man.
pull some people up, have them give a shout out.
Oh, that would be really fun. We could literally just like set it up and have people come by and we can like talk to them about stuff. And I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to hear us, but who knows? But
Right. Well, I mean, I'll have my I definitely have my laptop. I won't have my interface. I could bring a simple microphone like this, like interviewing. I just need I need to
Dude,
think
that would
about the
be way too
interface.
much fun. That would be way too much fun to try to do. I
While
think we
people are
should.
in the bar drinking, though, how cool would
Yes.
that
Yeah,
be?
no, I think that'd be great because then you catch people off guard. You catch people
Right.
like when they're, oh wait, I'm on camera now. What's this all about? How long before the hotel like starts to like wonder what we're
Like,
doing?
what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Hmm.
I think that's cool, though. That could be cool. Yeah, it could
I
be
think
really
so
cool.
too. It's gonna be so much fun next week. I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't been to a conference, an in-person conference in quite some time now. So
Yeah,
it's I think it was actually the last Durango that I went to that was like the last big
in person.
in-person thing that I went to. So I'm really
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
it's one of my favorite conferences. Because it's not just about you're not just listening to panels all day long, but you're actually actively pitching your music to people who are looking for music.
That's
And
right.
and it's cool because this is like probably my third or fourth year now, and so a number of the people that I've pitched to, I feel like I have relationships with now. I've either been pitching the music over the years. I've done, some of them have been in control camp or on panels. You've probably interviewed some of these people, and like so, it's a great opportunity to just like build on top of this relationship. I feel like, like money, financial investment wise, it's like it's just so worth it to me. Like this opportunity to be there, to be on point for a few days, actively like engage pitching as like I don't know anything else where I've been able to like get in that zone and have the opportunity to get some of these results. So I love it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it seems like with conferences, it can be like for me, I tell people it's like just going and connecting with people who are attending is like reason enough to go. Like even if you don't make a single deal from the people that you're presenting to or whatever it
Right.
is, decision makers, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't hurt for them to get to know you and just try to be yourself, and then you get to hang out with your friends that you already know and make new ones, and then like you were saying, there becomes like a familiarity. It's like, oh, I remember we shared a bourbon like last time around.
Right.
It was like, oh, remember we were out late talking around the fire after like when the bar closed down and all that stuff last year. So
Exactly
you
right.
start to recognize your face. They're like, oh, it's Eric, Eric's a
I'm
regular. He's like he's part of the crew now.
right. It
You
should be
become part of
cool.
the cool club, the cool kids club, I guess. I don't know. I was never a
We're
part
the
of the club.
veterans.
But yeah, we are the vets. Cheers, brother.
What is that you're drinking?
It's a hazy IPA.
Oh, okay.
Sierra Nevada. I had no time to get any mixers for my bourbon, so not drinking any bourbon tonight. I'm just drinking beer.
Do you only do bourbons with mixes? You don't like them straight, or how do you normally drink them?
I mean, I could have just poured it. It's just I think it's like Jim Beam vanilla. And I've never tried drinking it
Ah,
straight. Really, it's not like a nice a nice sipping bourbon.
right.
But it's I could have done that. I guess
No,
I
nothing
really
wrong with
like
that. Yeah.
when I like the bourbon and Coke. I like that with Coke was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, I bet the vanilla with Coke is probably really good.
mhm. Yeah, it's been really nice the last couple of weeks having that. So I'll get back on the liquor train, just not tonight.
Is it like what's the proportion? Is it like 50-50 or how do you do it?
Oh, not 50-50. That's a strong
So
drink. Yeah, yeah.
so it's mostly more Coke, just kind of like
Uh,
a third of bourbon.
I'm kind of a cheap date, so it's like I'd probably pour like a shot or a shot and a half in the glass and then fill the rest of it with Coke. But it's not like a
Ah,
huge glass or anything like that. But it's it just depends on how drunk you want to get, how fast.
right, right.
The faster you want to get drunk, the more alcohol you put in. But there are some drinks where it's like it's not good. It's not in good taste to like put too much alcohol in. For example, like a good Moscow Mule. A good
Mm,
Moscow Mule, you don't taste the alcohol.
yes,
If you put too much alcohol in the Moscow Mule, then it's not a good mule.
agreed.
So it's like there's some drinks where it's like the taste is like way more important. And
Yep.
but then I think also you're always weighing the pros and the cons of like, if I want to get drunk, then I have to drink something that I have to drink more alcohol than my body can process in an hour.
Right.
Right.
I don't think I've
That's what it
ever
comes
really
down
drunk.
to.
I don't think I've ever like getting drunk has never been my drinking goal. It's probably like if I'm at a party, it's probably like, okay, I need to be loose enough to like feel comfortable socially engaging with random people, and so uh that's probably I need to be a little loose, but I also still need to be like in charge of my faculties because I don't want to like, you know, totally embarrass myself. But now I think for the most part, if like I actually like whiskey, and so I like certain like I like a good old fashioned or a Manhattan or some of the like classic bourbon drinks. And if I do that, I kind of want to enjoy the drink, and I've always liked dark liquor because I think I got into it like when you go to a club or a dance club or whatever, I'm a little cheap. I never wanted to go out. I'm not one of those ones who wants to go out and spend like $100 at a club,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
in drinks. And so if I can, like, if you get, if I get beer or if I get, some mixed drink, whatever, that I can down those. But you give me like a straight, um, a bourbon on the rocks or whiskey on the rocks, or even with a little bit of ginger ale or something, I could probably sip on that for an hour and be good and not be like, I'm not going to down it. It's strong. I want it strong enough where I'm not going to down it, and it'll last a while. And so if I'm there for a few hours, I probably only need a couple of drinks to get me through the night.
Yeah, I think it all just comes down to like what's the situation, granted, it's like, in some contexts, it's like you wanna like get a little crazy or something like that. I think my days of like just getting super wild and crazy in public are over. So it's like if I'm gonna get drunk, it's usually like in private or something like that with somebody, or yeah, sometimes you just drink faster because you're in good company or whatever. But
Right.
it's, I think I remember the last time I intentionally, I just wanted to get fucked up. Like, I was like, I'm going to get fucked up tonight. It was like, I really regret what I did that night. I really regret the amount of alcohol I drank. That was bad. That was a bad night.
Yeah, there are definitely some regrets. There are definitely. I don't think I don't think there's very few of those that I would share.
Yeah. There's a couple stories. One of the stories is kind of funny, but it just would bore most people if I told it. Yeah, I think it's hilarious, but it's yeah. I think it's alcohol's like it's a great social lubricant. It's good, but I think that if you, as with like that, it's like you want to, at conferences you also don't want to make an ass out of yourself too.
Yeah, very, very true.
You would never want to be the person that people are handing glasses of water to.
And that's actually the risk of conferences, especially something like Durango or Taxi, where the bar is the main social networking place.
Yeah.
It's like you have to loosen up, drink, unless you're somebody who's just not drinking, you're probably going to indulge in some. And then that thing of being, partaking, but also like knowing your limit is really important, because you're like socializing with people that you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of. It's not like just like random strange people. So I've always found like conferences to be like this weird thing in that way. Like, yeah, let's hang out and let me get to know you, the real you. But at the same time, don't give me too much of you. You know what I mean? It's like it's like a line in it, because it's still people that you want to do business with.
Yeah, when some people, it's like, well, for whatever reason, some people are sober. It's like that's a thing too. Some people they either choose not to drink at all, or they just can't handle their alcohol, or for whatever reason they have for not drinking. You gotta keep those people in mind too. And I think with all this, it's like, as long as you're taking in moderation and whatever, you're not gonna stick out like a sore thumb socially in front of everybody. I do think it's like one thing that I have in the past has been a little bit more like erring on the side of caution with all that in the past. And I think that, like, not saying I'm going to get trashed this conference, but I think it's like, I think one thing that I've learned from going to conferences and just in the music industry in general is that people will be attracted to you if you're just yourself.
Yes.
Be yourself, be authentic. If you like having a few drinks, have a few drinks. It's like not the end of the world. I think making a great impression on every single person should not be the goal of anybody who attends a conference, because there's no way you're going to please everybody that's there. There's just no way about it. You can't be everybody's friend. Not everybody's going to want to work with you on anything. And, everybody's got their own thing. Personalities can clash, so it's
very true.
I think it's just better to just be yourself and let that show, and then the cards, let them lie where they lie,
I agree.
Have a good time. Just be yourself. I think that's the thing. Going to conferences can seem really stuffy and really boring, and also really intimidating if you don't know anybody, especially. But it's just like, the more you're yourself, you realize, oh wait, nobody nobody really has this thing all figured out.
I can't agree more. It's something that I get a lot of I see a lot of reward in. I see that, the more I can think back to me as a kid, and I was like so insecure as a teenager. I had a really hard time in like high school, middle school fitting in, and I was younger than everybody else, so I got put up a couple of grades when I was really young, and so high school for me was like age 12 to 16. I was 2 years younger than everybody else,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and 2 years is a lot at
Yeah, that's a
that
big
at that
difference.
age. You know what I mean?
I mean, I was always the youngest kid in my class, but that was just because I was born in like the beginning of August.
Well, yeah, right,
I
right.
barely got in whatever the grade was that I went to. Whatever class I was in, I barely got into it. So I was always the youngest kid in my class, but I can't. That's like taking it to like a whole other level, man.
It was really, really, real. Like I don't
Oh,
even know if it was worth it, education wise, just because socially it was just really, really hard for me. And so I like it made me like not value I was just very insecure and didn't have a lot of confidence. And so I would always like look at other people and try to see who I needed to emulate or who I needed to try to be more like. And it wasn't really till like college and afterward I kind of really started getting more of appreciation for like me, and then seeing people respond to like the genuine me, just being whatever, goofy self, and like, oh, this is okay. Like people, like I'm actually like making friends, just doing this. Like, I it wasn't until college till I started getting that lesson, and probably after, before it really kind of like sunk in, like, oh, I could kind of just be myself, and I'll still be able to have friends and a community. And it took me a while to get that. I mean, I feel like it's something I'm still incorporating. Like I don't feel like I've like got it. I feel like it's something that I'm more solid in, but also something that I continually like remind myself of in my like meditations, and just as I'm
cool.
trying to work on myself.
Yeah, I feel that there's no limit to how much you can be yourself. I feel like we're all on that path of trying to find comfort in ourselves,
Yep.
comfort, especially in ourselves amongst other people. It's like because there's so many walls that we put up, a lot of them is just stuff we put up ourselves. But it's like, at the end of the day, what resonates most with people, at least what I've found, is just if I can be myself, if I don't care what other people think, and just have a good time. I think that's like at the end of the day, like you're gonna attract the people into your life that you need to attract, and some people are gonna like you, some people are gonna think you're dumb or whatever they think you are. They're gonna call you whatever they feel like they need to call you, or they just like it's other people that they're gonna hang out with. So I
I
just
think
learned
it's
you can't do that to yourself. You can't like rob, and that's one way you can really rob yourself in terms of social stuff, is just by trying to please everybody and trying, because then you end up not talking to anybody because you're afraid you're going to offend somebody, or you're afraid that you're going to talk to the wrong person, or you're going to miss out on some kind of situation. So you're thinking about talking to this person when there's somebody like right over here who wants to talk to you. It's like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of ways in which that can present itself in a way that will make it so that it's harder for you to get further ahead than you could if you just welcomed the situations that come your way.
yeah, it's actually I don't know who said this, but I had a discussion with someone. I feel like it was during Durango last year, but just how like professionally a lot of what we're doing, like I said, high school was hard for me. But how like life in general, and you think about like what we're doing professionally in the businesses that we're doing. And someone said somewhere how like all this stuff is still high school, like pitching to supervisors, going to conferences, even working in our communities. There's still like people that like you just because, people that don't like you just
Eh,
because, and like you think you've left that, but like really, all life is really, you know, is it's still some effort of that. I think in some ways, you and I short circuit some of that. Not that it's conscious or unconscious, but by running our own communities, we almost get out of some of the nitpicking and the, kind of having to be the alpha and having to like compete for friends and who gets to sit at my table and not. Is like, we built something that we're at the top of. And then,
It is
so
kind of
if
fun, man. It's kind of fun. I mean, in a way, I think. I mean, by the way, thanks for reminding me of high school, which was like my least favorite phase of my entire life. Like, I hated high school so much. I'll never go to one of my high school reunions. I just like I had
See, but
such.
now you make me want to do a study, like how many people that run their own communities
I hated
or
high
are
school.
leaders
I
are
was also
doing
the
this.
shyest person in my whole high school too. I was extremely shy.
But look at that,
So
like we're
funny.
actually building communities, like we're building our circles of people. And I wonder how much of that is retaliation for, not having the circle that we wanted then, or being like, I'm not going to, like I was never all that athletic. I think you were more athletic than I was, but I was purely like the music guy, never that athletic. And so I hated things like being in the dodgeball line or, or the pickup basketball line because I knew I was
Sure.
going to get picked last. And so, interestingly enough, being in this phase now where I'm in charge of the community, I know I'm not going to get picked. I'm not saying it's all conscious, but I wonder if there's a connection because like I'm not going to get picked last now. You know what I mean? Like
Like,
not in
fuck
something
y'all.
that
I'm
I'm
gonna
doing.
I'm gonna start my own team.
And so I wonder if there's a connection. There's more
Dude, I wish
curiosity.
I could go back and tell myself, honestly, if I could just go back in time, if there's one thing I could do, one thing I could go back in time and do and tell myself, it would be like right before high school, I would sit down and tell myself, I'd be like, none of this matters at all.
Mm,
Like, none of this in the grand scheme of your life matters whatsoever. So you might as well just be yourself, have a good time, and just do whatever the fuck you want.
right.
Honestly, like that's if I get given myself a permission slip to just be myself back in high school, who knows? It's like you can't go back, but it's like if I were to go back and tell myself something at some time, that's probably when I would have gone back. And if I could only tell myself one thing, that's
Yeah.
probably what I would have gone back and said. Just because it's like I feel like high school is such a turning point for so many people, and you either have like such a terrible experience with it, or you have like a really great experience, and that's kind of like foundation of your life. You could meet your sweetheart, the person you spend the rest of your life with. You could, I mean, that's
Right.
very rare, but like you could also make friends in high school that you have your entire life. You could make a decision as far as like what you want to pursue from a career perspective and an education perspective, and that like is kind of the bedrock and the foundation of your whole life. Or it can just be like it was with me. It was just like, I hate all of this. I still don't know who I am. Like I still like don't feel like I belong in any of these social groups. And then, you go and you have your own adventure.
Right.
Have your own adventure and you create your own thing. I think that's it's a fine way to go about it. I feel like if people were free to do that earlier on in life, it would be even better.
I
If they
agree.
felt free. But I think a lot of people just don't know. Like I didn't know back then. I thought that high school was so important. Like
It's
the
so
college that I
important.
got in is so important. My grades are so important. Which they turns out they aren't. They really aren't. Unless you're trying to get into like Harvard or something like that. It really doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like,
So you're right. It's important for that very next step, and then it's never referred to ever. No one
yeah.
has ever asked me, so what's your high school transcript look like? Or,
Nope.
what was
Were
your
you
grade
Sigma
in high
cum
school?
laude or whatever the fuck it is, like the Phi Kappa
Nobody.
Phi Honor Society or whatever, like whatever thing that they who's who of American high school students where they try to get $50 from you to put your name in a book that you can barely read.
Yo, really true.
Those are such a scam. Oh my god, that was the scam back then. Like,
The who's
they're
who,
probably still trying to do it. I bet there's still a who's who, and
because it's not like based on tests. It's literally based on just signing up and paying for your inclusion in a book that nobody will ever read about. or ask about. It's very bad. It's funny. High school was horrible.
Yeah, it was tough. It's tough. It's like for me, it was just I didn't know which group I belonged to, so I tried to participate in a bunch of them, and I was like one of the youngest kids in my class. It also didn't help that I moved a
Mm,
lot in like middle school and high school. So I'd moved to my high school my junior year. No,
mm.
was it sophomore? It was sophomore. My sophomore year of high school, I moved to the high school that I ended up going to school to
Oh
the rest of
wow.
high school. So there I was with like a bunch of other kids who had like had their most of their friends were like in class with them that they'd grown up with, and I didn't know anybody. And it's like so that there were a lot of it's like you can complain, you can go back, you can say, oh, woe is me with these disadvantages that I had and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's some of that it really doesn't matter, and I don't have any. I'm not bitter about it at all. It's just like you can't see what you can't see, I think is what I'm trying to
You
say.
can't see
Like
what you can't see. Yeah,
you
that's so
can't
true.
because when you're in something, sometimes you just can't see it at all. You don't realize how talented or good looking or whatever it is that you think you aren't, or you aren't smart or whatever. You just have no frame of reference for like what you got going on or what you could have going on if you just did this one thing.
Right.
So, and I think that's a cool thing about conferences too, is it gives you an opportunity to all these different times to like, take that 20 seconds of courage and go up and just talk to somebody.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. I don't know. I have a good time at conferences now. It's either for me, it's I can just coast through them, or I'll coast through them for the most part and have a good time. And then maybe a couple of times during the conference, I'll challenge myself to, talk to somebody that I'd really like to talk to and just, I don't have to talk to them for 20 seconds, just see how it
I
goes.
do. I like that. I've always been very good about peer to peer networking at conferences, and I agree with you that that's um best the best way. I think that's the going in. Like if I just meet a couple of cool peers, even if I don't meet, you know, a a leader in the community or an authority or somebody who, a particular supervisor or someone who signs music, if I don't get a song signed, if I meet some of the standout people who are also, who've paid and invested to come here to this event, then that's a good thing. But I do have a good friend of mine. I have a friend in DC who is one of my closest friends, and she is like a social networking guru.
Yeah.
She's one of those people that like never meets a stranger. She can walk up to anybody on the street, start a conversation, make a best friend in like 10 seconds. And I've seen her do it over and over and over again. And it's
That's great.
always amazed me because I've never been like that person. So I try to always pick her brain and see kind of what she's thinking as she's doing it. So usually when I go to conferences, she always like she knows I'm going, and she always tries. And she also knows that I'm kind of like I lean towards introversion. So given the choice, I will lean towards just hanging back and not being noticed instead of walking up and like saying, "Hey, I'm here. Everybody, look at me," kind of thing. And so she always tries to encourage me to like you said, challenge myself. Like, yeah, make friends with your peers. But one of the things she says, she tries to encourage me. Like one of the things I've tried to do with her encouragement was always look for, no matter what it is, if you're going to a panel discussion, if you're going to a showcase, if you're going to just an industry event, try to look for the person who organized the event, and walk up, say, hey, thank them for putting it together, and maybe ask them, like how hard was it getting all this stuff together? Because once she remind like that is the person that knows every single person there. Like that's the
Yeah.
networking person. And a lot of times to increase your network, if you meet a super networker, you save yourself a lot of effort. You could like
This is so
try to meet
true.
100 people, but if
Ah,
you meet one person who's like the person that everybody knows,
yeah,
like
yeah.
like it takes you've decreased your effort like by magnitude of something
Uh,
significant.
I would just say that that's so on point that I've experienced this myself where I'll go to a conference, I'm just kind of on my own, I don't know anybody. It's a lot more intimidating, it's a little more difficult, and also you don't have a plan. But the moment that you just go with somebody who's already kind of plugged in, all you have to do is just like hang out with them. You just hang out with them, and then everybody else kind of comes to you. It's kind of fun. I did that at the
It's
taxi
very true.
conference like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. There's a buddy of mine who knows everybody at taxi. And it's funny, you have these panels where, you're sitting 400 or 500 people in the room and they're all like looking at these people on the stage. And I didn't go to any of the panels the entire weekend. All I did was sat at the bar with my friend, and everybody was just like, those people that were on the panels were literally just sitting down with us and talking with us, and so it's kind of
really
funny. It's
true.
like I shouldn't have even like I don't even I wouldn't have even I did get a badge for that conference, but I didn't even need it. Like I could have just
You
sat at the
didn't
bar
need
the
it.
whole time. Most
Hmm.
conferences, you don't need a badge at all. You don't even need to pay for the conference. Just go to the nearest bar, whether it's in the
Yep.
hotel or wherever everybody's going. As long as you know where the bar is,
As long
you're
as
good
you
to
know where the
go.
bar is.
Yeah. You just got to know where
It's
the
so
bar is.
true.
Don't drink too much that you can't find the bar, you know, until you get to the bar. If you get to the
Don't
bar,
go
then
to the
you
wrong bar either. Make sure you're at the right bar.
but yeah,
That
that's
is
also good.
so true.
I think it's good advice too. Like just, I think it goes back to being grateful for the people that put stuff together and things like that. And if you're authentic about it, you can tell you're not coming up to them with an agenda. It's really easy just to find something in your heart where you're like thankful for the event and just say like, hey, thanks for putting this event on. It's really cool. I'm sure it was a lot of work. If you
John,
come up to them with that kind of attitude, I'm sure they're really going to appreciate it.
we should make a movie like the sync music industry version of Wedding Crashers, where it's just like a couple guys, and all they do is like find out where the conferences are, and they just go hang out in all the bars, meet people, try to hook up with whoever,
I
and
think
they
that's
like
great.
they just fly from conference to conference
Yeah.
and
Never pay for
just hang
any
out at the bars.
conference. And then soon you
That
get
is
free conference badges because they're inviting you up on the stage to speak
they're
about
inviting
something.
you to talk, exactly.
Is that how it works?
I think we should test it.
I'm taking my vlog camera out there. I got this vlog camera that I spent way too much money on last year and I haven't used it a single time.
What if
So I'm
we
gonna
take beats? What if we take Beats and Bourbon on the road for like 6 months to
yeah.
a bunch of conferences that we never pay for, and we just
I
take
think
like
that's a great
a
idea,
mic,
dude.
take the microphone and the camera to the bar, and just sit and interview people in the bars at all the major conferences.
I love
But
it.
like, and see
We
where
never
it
pay
ends
for a
up. Like,
badge. We refuse to pay for a badge. That's funny.
I think
I'd
that
be
would be
totally down to do
awesome.
it. I'm down. I'm down. Let's start planning this. We're gonna start planning this tour, Beats and Bourbon tour. Oh,
Beats
that's
and Bourbon
fun.
on the road.
That's right. Beats and Bourbon on the road.
Beats and Bourbon conference crashes.
Conference crashers. Yes, yes. Cheapskate edition.
Right. That would be awesome.
Dude, that's funny. Yeah, we got to do that. That'd be great. Man, is there anything else we want to talk about? What do we want to talk about tonight? We're just talking about it because I think started talking about conferences because we're going to one next week, and there's also the
Right.
NAMM conference, which is the big one. I'm actually bummed that I missed the NAMM conference because
Yeah.
one's
I
so
have
fun,
yet to go to that.
dude. It's so fun. We
So I
got to
can,
go next year.
well, maybe that's what we do for Nat. Maybe Nashville is our first Beats and Bourbon crashes party, the Nashville one.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally, totally. I mean, I think I can get a free. The thing is, like, it's not that hard to get a free badge to NAMM. You just have
Okay.
to
Okay.
know if you know somebody who it's like 6 degrees of separation, but if you know anybody in the music industry, it's like 1 degree of separation between you and NAMM.
Gotcha.
Like, at least it seems like to me. I've always had like I've always gotten a free pass to NAMM whenever I wanted it. It's just you have to keep asking around until you find somebody who's
Oh,
got like a
yeah.
sponsorship with somebody, and then they get you on a list.
Okay.
I
Good to
mean,
know.
that might not be. I might be wrong. Maybe that's like just maybe you're not supposed to do that. But
I know nothing about NAM, so I'm a student learning.
NAMM's fun. It's like, well, the LA one, I can't speak for the Nashville one. I'm sure it's much smaller, but the LA one is just like, it's like the entire Anaheim Convention Center. It's like
Mm.
3 or 4 football fields worth of just vendors of all kinds. I mean, every single thing you can think about, everything from like weird fuzzy guitar capos that have like a little googly eyes on them, to like people selling cheap instruments from Asia for school kids, to like hair metal, like people that are appealing to huge giant like racks of drums and appealing to like the aging hair metal enthusiasts, to like an entire football field worth of guitar pedals of all kinds. The guitar room is just so freaking crazy. It's like you have to wear
Wow.
headphones. Not headphones. I always wear earplugs in there because it's a cacophony. It's like
I can
it's
imagine.
it's it's insane, dude. It's so fun though, because you end up once you start making some friends in the music industry, you just end up like you just run into people all the time and, oh, what are you doing? What are you checking out? Like I went like 3 times before I got it for the first time. And it was just like I ended up just running into a bunch of people, and then you just kind of like, partner up and or buddy up with like 3 or 4 people, and you're just wandering around and checking out stuff and cracking jokes and getting free swag, and like, just seeing if you can talk up some people, try to get some free stuff. I mean, you're not really going to get it unless you've got some serious cred, but you never know. Some people, it's like the smaller vendors too. You can do deals there too. On the Sunday,
Okay.
last day, they don't want to take all the floor models back home with them, so they'll sell them for cash out on the floor. So you can get big deals on stuff if you're willing to take something that's a floor model.
Right. Did you buy anything while you were there?
Nope. But all my friends tell me it's like I just was never in a place where I needed to buy a piece of gear. But if I was, I definitely would. If the timing was right for me, I definitely would have tried to do it. Yeah, it's cool. You get to see the latest, greatest stuff. A lot of those companies spend a shit ton of money putting up these crazy booths. It's insane. Like some of the things that they do. The thing for Luna was really funny. The DAW for Universal Audio, they set up
Yeah.
it was the last NAMM they had before COVID hit. It was actually the last big event that I attended before COVID hit. But yeah, they had this, like, you put on these space helmets and like taking pictures of, like, they had like a photo booth with like I lost you there, Eric. All right. Well, anyways, I'll wait until Eric gets back on. There you are. I think you lost your connection.
Hello?
Went down. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, I lost you for a sec.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think your connection went dead for a second.
Oh, you lost me too.
Yeah. But I was just saying, it was like, this is really fun seeing like how creative they get with the marketing on stuff. And I don't know. I had a good time. I had a really good time just running around, hanging out with friends, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about in the music industry: having cool experiences and sharing. Honestly, I really do believe if you can find a way for yourself in the music industry that you love doing, you never work a day in your life, and that's the truth. So conferences can be a part of that. I actually kind of feel like this conference is going to be a vacation for me. It's going to be fun, even though there's some stressful things. We're going to be presenting some music to people that are, very important people that we need to impress in some kind of way. I also think it's like, kind of like, fuck that. It's like, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to play my songs, and, I think I have some stuff that they can use, and
totally
try to be, I'm open to doing business with them. So I think
I think what helps me,
like that.
I'm the same way. I think what helps me take it easy or be more relaxed is that I don't, maybe in other industries it's different, but I don't feel like I have to like close the deal that weekend. I'm just to people who know me, I'm saying hello again. And people I don't know, is just an introduction. But I really feel like all the deals happen in the follow-up anyway. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think I've ever left any conference with a check or a placement or anything. It was just, I left
very
with
rare that they have the opportunity that they need something at that moment. So occasionally it's like every conference I go to, they're always like, if you have something like this, let me know immediately. And it's never anything that I really have. But it's like, there are those kinds of situations. But honestly, like I've gotten deals from these attending these conferences, but and I know that like it's just a situation where they download some tracks, and then later on they think, oh, that was a cool song, I think this could work for this scene, and then they're just like, how about this, does this work for you?
Hmm.
Like, and then you find out almost a year later, oh, I got a placement for this, you know.
Right.
That was
Yep.
like in part because you did your work, you showed up, showed them some music, they liked some of it, and you know, you weren't like all pushy about it. You don't have to be. I think
Right.
there's ways for everybody, every personality type in the industry to make a living and to do well in the music industry. For people that are a little more reserved, I mean, I don't even think I'm so much reserved anymore in that, but that I just like, I hate marketing myself. I hate like, I don't know about you, but I hate like trying to sell what it is that I do. I feel like it's that for me is like, it gets into like the integrity side of things. It's like, I don't feel like I should have to like go into like salesperson mode with people.
Hmm.
And I've never had to do that, fortunately. I haven't had to. So, but then I'm not talking anybody down. I think if I was good, I'm not a good salesperson. I think it comes down to it. If I was a good salesperson, then maybe I'd be singing a different tune with all that. But I don't know. Yeah, do you know what I
I
mean? It's like
I
I don't really
do.
know what maybe it's just me making excuses for not being good at selling myself, you know. But
I know it's an area that I have been challenging myself to get better in because I think it's not a natural. It's not an area where it's not an area I'm a natural in. And it was actually, I think, Kathy that inspired me to be like, huh, I need to be one. Kathy, among other people, I read a lot of different books, and even people like what's his name, Seth Godin, is an author that I like, who and Gary V, people who Tony Robbins, people who like um really push more of whether you're marketing yourself or marketing a product or marketing your network or trying to build a network. Like I think I'd always been reading those people, but I think Kathy took all that information and solidified it for me that that was the one thing that I could do okay just being a great musician and a great songwriter, but that I probably would get where I wanted to go faster if I put a little more effort into raising a flag and saying, "Hey, I'm here, and maybe I can help." I'm here to serve you, and maybe I can. Not so much about telling you how great I am, but I see you have a problem, and I think I have something that can kind of help. Or it's my way of kind of serving. And I don't know, she helped change my whole mindset on that. And ever since then, I've been trying to find more of a balance of creating music, but also working on my brand, also working on my network, and also being more intentional about pitching and not just waiting for the people who are asking to find me, but saying, okay, um, who might need what I have or who doesn't know me yet. And so it is something I'm working on. I'm not a natural at it, but I feel like there's value in getting better at it.
yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I think that, and I think about this sometimes that I think for some people it's a skill. Definitely, it is a skill, no matter where you're at. But I think for me too, confidence with what I do in business, it kind of relies on a couple of things for me. Anyways, it's like my experience in the industry and the success, the track record that I've had, and the more experience I have with it, and the more comfortable I am in my own skin, and just like if I've had success in the industry, that can kind of fuel the confidence that you take into these kinds of things. So it's just like, it feels like every one of these conferences, I get a little bit better at doing what you were talking about, like being able to like say, hey, I'm here. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see all of you. I have some things that I think you may dig, and I'm ready to do business, you know? So I think it's like, you do have to kind of put on, for, the analogy, it's like you got to put on the hat, it's like, okay, I'm going to put on my, like that, whatever, the 20% of myself that's like the person that could be the go-getter, the person that could be like the salesperson, the person that can go out there and say like, hey, this is what I do. and I love doing it. And I'd love to help you. Here's some songs. Let's listen to them. Let me know what you think. You know, you can turn that switch on. I think it's possible to turn on that switch even if you're not really wired to do it that way. For me, I think though, for me, it's been like a thing where the more success I have in the industry, the more experience and just the more comfortable I am just being myself just in public. You know, it's just like, I don't know. I think that's been a huge revelation for me these last 5 years has been, and in part through the teaching and leading communities has been just, I started to realize I don't have to be the teacher. You know, I don't have to be, I can just be John Kleinbell all the time, you know?
Yeah.
John Kleinbell who shows up to teach is the same John Kleinbell that goes to play dodgeball, is the same John Kleinbell that goes and writes a song. And then you have like this rich kind of, you can build on everything at once that way. That's another thing that's cool about that. If you're the same person across like the board and you're not too worried about switching hats all the time, then like, you know, you can just kind of be yourself all the time and people get to see you as yourself all the time. And I think there's a lot of value in that because then you can kind of like build on that and keep going. And then you just are living a rich, full life just all across the board the same way.
I like that. I like the word. I like that thought process. And authenticity, just being comfortable in your skin with whatever quirks we bring to the table. And it goes back to the whole high school thing of just trusting that you being you, maybe everybody doesn't like you for you, but enough will that you can have friends, do business, create a community, do all those things, just being yourself. You know?
It's guaranteed that people are going to like you. You know, it's like, I think it's just, you have to know who those people are. You have to find them. But the only way you're going to really find those people is to just be yourself. Because otherwise you're going to be trying to attract the wrong people into your life. You're trying to be this person who you're not even on the inside. It's just like, I've just learned you can't please everybody. Not everybody's going to be your friend. Like I always had this thing going out of high school and going out into early adulthood where I was like, I'm going to be friends with everybody. Everybody's going to like me because I'm like, you know, so smart or whatever it is. Like, I'm just going to be, I have to be friends with everybody because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or what. I don't even know what it was back then. It was just like, I wanted to be generally well-liked. And I think, you know, even looking back, I was like, I was pretty well-liked back then. But I think where I was like kind of having problems was, you know, it's like wanting everybody to be your friend is not possible. It also, I think if everybody's your friend, then when are you going to spend quality time with the friends you already have? And that's what I think like the conferences, that's like, if you really take that pressure off, honestly, you build one good relationship at a conference, that's something that could pay off the rest of your life, you know, make a friendship, even if it's just on a friendship level. I made a really good friend the last Durango conference, and we're still in touch. You know, she's going to be coming back to this Durango, and it'll be great to see her again because we spent a lot of time at the last Durango conference just shooting the shit. We'd show up at the different events, we'd sit next to each other. I didn't know her at all when I got there, and she actually didn't really know anybody, and it was really cool. You know, I got to introduce her to some people, and we got to connect on a lot of music stuff. And you know, if you even make one connection like that, she ended up editing my podcast for a while. And, you know, there's different like things. So just that one thing, and that didn't even have anything to do with licensing, had nothing to do with licensing, just like connecting with a human being on that level. It's great to see you. You were there, you know, we got to connect, we got to share drinks. And like, you know, it's like, that's the thing. You just go, if you can reinforce some relationships you already have in the music industry and maybe make one or two more, it's like totally good. You're good. You know, you don't need to make 10 new friends at a conference. Actually, what are you actually going to be able to follow up with those 10 people anyway? You're not. Most people are not going to be able to do that. They don't have the room. They don't have the bandwidth in their life to follow up. If I had $1 for every single time somebody like came up to me at a conference and we started talking and they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to work with you on something. Here's my card. Hit me up. We'll do it later, or vice versa. And it's just crickets and you never even get it going. You know, it's like everybody likes to talk all the time. People like to talk a lot of conferences. I'd like to if I can get a little bit below the surface level, that's way better. It's like, cause I'd rather make some concrete plans with like 2 or 3 people that I really think are cool. And if those people are a little further ahead of me, it can be good to just push yourself in that way. Like I'm always looking for writers that are better than me, looking for producers that are better than me, looking with people to work with people that have better connections than me. Because I think if you don't ever push yourself in that way, then you kind of become like the big fish in the small pond. Maybe, I don't know if that's the right analogy, but it could be. It could kind of be that way. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
big
that makes
fish
a
in the
lot of
small
sense.
pond is really the exact analogy, but it's like kind of like you're limiting yourself. I feel you can
Yes,
be the king
just
of
your
not the king of nothing because everybody has value, and I love everybody. I love everybody in my life, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like you can have a lot of connections and like be the person who's most plugged in your little network, and then you're comfortable, you're whatever, that's great. But if you have bigger ambitions than that, you got to break out of that. You definitely
right.
have to like continue to build up. Otherwise there's going to be people in your network that are going to leapfrog you very quickly. Everybody's always like moving up. Everybody's always like working. The people who stick around too, that's I think the other thing with conferences. I know it's like tangent after tangent, but like the people who stay in the game are the people that like I think they reap the rewards. It's like you show up, you
Yep.
just keep showing up. It's like I don't know, it's a different year, and different challenges, and maybe I made more or I made less music than I did last year, but I'm still here. I still have music, and I'm still like here talking to y'all. So it's
Still here
like
plugging away.
I'm still in the game. I haven't given up. I haven't done that and then like started to work an accounting job or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, or that I would have anything to do with working an accounting job myself. But you know what I mean? It's like some type of corporate job. It's just not
Right.
the way I'm wired. So you know, and for those who aren't wired that way, it's like we find the way. We have to find a way.
You did you did a corporate job for you did a project management for a while. Is that what it was or something? IT.
Yeah, I was in LA. I quickly learned. I moved to LA, I don't know, in 2005. So I was pursuing I was going to be the next John Mayer or Jason Mraz, and I was going to play big venues and all that stuff, and write with the coolest people, and produce albums and all that stuff, and have radio hits. And it didn't really work out that way for me. But one thing that I did learn very quickly, that I'm glad that I did, is that if you're going to stick around in the music industry, you got to establish some roots. You know,
Mm.
somebody who actually ripped me off when I first moved there gave me that piece of advice, even though they ripped me off. It was funny. It was actually like they took advantage of the fact that I didn't have any. I was so naive about the whole thing when I moved there at first. This person, I won't name names, but they totally ripped me off on a production. And but they did give me one good piece of advice, and that piece of advice was worth like $1,500. But it was like, if you're gonna stick around in it, if you're gonna be in LA, you're gonna make something of this, you gotta get some roots. And part of those getting roots is you gotta make friends, you gotta find a permanent place to live, you gotta like get a job. If you Most people can't support themselves on their creative work when they get out there. 99.9% can't. So you gotta get a job. So that's what I did. And I started working. Fortunately, in college, I was a media arts major, took every single media elective under the sun, knew how to edit video, knew how to edit sound, knew how to like do creative writing stuff. Almost double majored in English. So a wide variety of different skills. I was always very savvy with computers as well, designing websites and interactive multimedia and digital photography. So it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife in like the tech space, I suppose. I was an IT administrator for like 2 or 3 years before I moved out to LA. So I just ended up taking a few jobs. One of them was like working for a media ratings company. I was validating the data that they were collecting, which was it's like an hour-long story. I was working for a company that was basically a big giant Ponzi scheme. It turned out it was crazy. But that was my first job. And then I worked for MySpace temporarily for a while. Yep. I was working in their security team for a while. I was calling up different internet service providers and threatening them with legal action if they didn't take websites down, like phishing websites that looked like fake MySpace profiles. Or they were fake MySpace profiles, like disguising the fact that they were phishing sites. So yeah, that was fun. And then I worked a job. I was for like 3 years. I was working for a real estate marketing company. and I did web design, project management for web design and internet marketing campaigns. So pay-per-clicks, SEO, landing page design, all that stuff. Helping build websites and interfacing with clients. And then the last corporate job that I had that I quit in 2013 was I was working for Westfield Malls in their digital team. I was the manager of all the content and all 56 centers in the US. So 56 different websites. I was managing the content and working with the marketing directors at each of the cities. So it was a lot of different work, a lot of different projects, a lot of different people to follow up with on a regular basis. It's very interesting. So many of the skills that I learned in the corporate world directly tie into what I'm doing every week here. Yep.
That's so cool. Yeah, I can see all of that stuff that you use, from the website design to the SEO, even the security stuff is just knowing that that's out there, and just kind of knowing how to protect your own interests.
Dodge some bullets, man. And also backup your files, learning how to back up your stuff, learning the IT background also helps a lot too, being able to troubleshoot computers and all that stuff. Something I learned pretty early on in life. I've always been a jack of all trades, and it was something that I struggled with for a long time. And but it's like, I think you gotta embrace whatever it is you're good at. And if you're pretty good at a lot of different things, but you're great at like one thing, then that's fine.
Yeah. I'm a similar. I have tons of interests. I've always done lots of stuff. We're kind of similar. I did a lot of IT stuff, a lot of project management, mostly for one company, but it was a consulting firm. So switched around from one contract to another contract, and so much of that I see myself. I think you and I, we talk a lot about a lot of ways that we organize our data, or organize. For me, I mean, I'm very anal about keeping track of people kind of in my network, and who am I pitching to when, and keeping track of my songs, and what state my production is in, and keeping track of phases of production. For I got a bunch of songs in process. Some are being produced, some are in the phase of being written, some are sitting with a collaborator. So I spend a decent amount of time just kind of tracking all of that, so I just know where my song, for the most part, where my songs are, and what I need to be working on every day, how to prioritize my stuff. And so I think we both do a lot in terms of managing our time and managing our work effort.
Yeah. It's I think it all works in our space as well. I think actually, like creatives, it's like creatives really don't. I think it's like one of those things where they either dismiss the importance of it, or they just like are overwhelmed with it, and they just like, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just like, that's why it's like it's monumentally difficult to get metadata from some people. It's like they just cannot keep track of any of it. So they gotta, for every single thing you're asking of them, they have to go through like all of their email, which they've got 30,000 messages in their inbox, and they're trying to figure out like who even was the third writer on this track, because I can't remember who it was.
Right.
It's
real pain.
It's growing pains, I guess. I mean, for some people, you gotta grow up quick. I think that's one of the things. I think some people are definitely capable of doing it. It's like it's not rocket science. Fortunately, if it was rocket science, I probably would be a rocket scientist and not a musician. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think rocket science pays a lot better than your typical music industry professional.
That is funny. It's so true.
Oh man. Good times. Good times. Yeah. You got anything else you want to chat about before we call this a night?
I don't know. Let's see. I actually, like I said, I'm excited about next week. Got a ton of songs I'm trying to prepare, get ready for that. And also just we don't have to talk about this today, but I do find that with you and I, we probably have a similar struggle with what I'm finding right now. I'm just my struggle is splitting my time between creating music and then building this business around music that has come about. I mean, both Control Camp and Sus 3 are kind of like businesses that have developed because of music opportunities. But I'm not trying to let go of being the producer and the writer,
Yeah.
and just, still being that creative. And in a lot of people that
Sure
we
is a
know who are running
challenge, isn't
successful
it?
agencies, it is, a lot of people who are doing this full time, doing agencies full time, or doing education full time, have kind of let the creative side go. And
It's a
I'm trying
full-time
to.
job, or they end up like executive producing and having like bringing in producers to do creative work, and then they direct the creative work. But I don't
Right,
know. It's like it's tough. It's like I never want to be not songwriting, or I always want to be songwriting. I always want to be dabbling in production, even if I'm not like producing all the time. So I think I
right.
agree. Like it's a tough thing. Like it's definitely something I've struggled with over these last, I would say, like especially over the last 6 months. It's been a real balancing act for me. And you also have to just find time for yourself. And we talked about this
Exactly.
not too long ago, but it was like finding out how to do that and be creative and carve out a little bit of time so you don't go insane. Like, so you don't fucking go crazy, It's like you
Yep.
need you need your getaways, you need your time to yourself, you need your time to play some video games or go for a hike or get out and hang out with friends and do stuff that has nothing to do with music. Um,
Right.
but it's tough. It's really tough, I would say, as like somebody who runs my own business. It's very tough to turn off. I've always had a hard time turning off. I don't know. Something I'll probably be working my entire life on is just finding that balance, not only with like being able to do creative stuff, and it's like, because I think you're right. It's like I think the problem with us is, I think, Eric, any one of these things that we're doing could be massively successful, and it could also be a full time job in and of itself. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So it's like, if that's the case, is it a thing where people like us, and I'm curious, like, I wonder if people like us tend to, in a way, it's not exactly like throwing spaghetti against a wall because it's not that many things, but when we do like a few things at a time, is it that we're figuring out what is going to be the thing that really takes off the most, and then we put everything behind that? Or is it something where we're just continuing, it's just in our nature to want to build new things and try something out, and try to create something new that hasn't like just exploded yet? Maybe we're both
I
still looking for that thing that just explodes, and
I
really
I
takes off
think
in a
it's a
massive way.
I think it's probably, for me, I think it's a little of both. It's a little of being wired to do trial and error, and just I continually tweak what I'm working on, always add new aspects, always try something new. And I'm also quick to let something go if it's not working, and shift gears and move on to something else. But it's
Yeah.
also just being very curious about a lot of things, and I've always been one that has kind of allowed myself to follow my curiosity. And so I do think if one particular thing started really, in some ways, if one particular thing started really taking off, I probably, if it was the thing that I wanted to be doing for a while, like I noticed, like I taught music lessons in Atlanta, and I went from teaching my lessons by myself, and then I saw the opportunity, like, oh, I could turn this into a business, I could hire people. And I kind of
Yeah.
got this process, like, because once you think about a process, bringing on somebody else and doing, like, I think when you're process oriented, like some people I think do a thing and they just like may not understand why what they're doing works, but I think we're very analytical, and so as we're doing something, which is why we can teach it, because we're able to break down why this is working, what are the precise steps that we're taking that makes this thing particular work, and then you can teach somebody else that, or hire somebody else and explain to them kind of why that's working. And so as I started getting a lot of clients teach music lessons, I started, hiring some other teachers, and I immediately like I was getting such good traction in that, like I only advertised like my first or second year as a teacher, and then everything after that was word of mouth. And at its height, I probably had 40 students every week, just myself, before
Wow.
hiring other teachers. And so
Very cool.
I could see the demand in Atlanta. I could see that there were a couple of companies, but some of the ones that were there were not based in Atlanta, and they weren't really marketing themselves in Atlanta. Like I could see I could really like own this if I wanted to, but there was also something that wouldn't let me grow it past a certain point because I knew I wanted to write songs. I didn't want to be the guy who ran a large, you know, at home music service. And I always like question myself, like, you see the path, why aren't you going for it? And
Mm,
it's like, I kind of wanted to keep this where I'm teaching, I got two or three, but I don't, and I could get to 10, I could get to 15 or 20, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do the effort it takes to do that. I don't want to do the marketing it takes to do that. Because if I do that, like, I'll be all consumed in the marketing and promotion of that thing, and I'll be that guy. And there's always been something about me that's hesitated on marketing or branding myself for the thing that I don't want to be marketed or branded as. Whereas like Control Camp, I'm kind of all in. Songwriter, I'm kind of all in. Like whatever I got to do, like I'm all in for that. But that's been me. I've always pushed the brakes on stuff that I could see the path, but I didn't necessarily want the big thing for that.
I think it's something everybody has to weigh for themselves. I honestly feel like it's because at the end of the day, too, it's you can think about it this way. It's like I really try to think about it like, how can I be a service to the music industry? And maybe the best way for me to be a service to the music industry is for me to do something that is not necessarily the thing that I most enjoy doing.
Mm,
But that's like a tough pill to swallow though, right? It's a tough pill to swallow but maybe, if there's some things that come so easily but you don't have any interest in it, well maybe there's some wrinkle to that where you can find a way to set it up where you can keep your sanity and also still do good business doing it. I think I'm always looking for those kind of things. It's like if there is something that's doing well, it's like how can you systematize it? I see other people in the space that we're in that do these things, and I feel like it's not impossible. It's actually very interesting. It's like, oh, I never really thought that I could executive produce something until I actually just did it one time.
mm,
You know what I mean? And I was like, oh,
right.
that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so bad. And it also like ended in a pretty cool product that ended up working out for some stuff. And I got, even though I didn't have anything to do with the actual creation of the music, I still had a stake in the song because I presented opportunity. And there's different ways in the music industry you can help people. I just think it's a fascinating thing, but it's like I'm never sure I would want to do that like all the time, you know?
I
It's something I'd
I've
want to do all the
always
time. I'd like to do stuff that's creative, too. But maybe that's my ego getting in the way, you know?
maybe I question myself about this all the time, so I don't present this as a right or a wrong because every other day I'm like, Eric, are you being stupid? Are you being selfish? Are you making bad decisions? Like because there I am I think there's something in me, maybe from childhood and seeing my dad and being convinced that he wasn't happy with his job and was always just like
Mm,
desperate to get to retirement and never wanting to be that person. Like there's something in me that's always um resisted taking a path because it's easy or because it's the most obvious or because it's handed to you if it's not the path that you want to be on, and trying to find the balance of accepting that life is hard and that we shouldn't take any opportunities for granted, but at the same time recognizing that life is short and I should design the adventure that I want to be on and not just take this adventure because, oh, it's right here and you got a free ticket to walk this road. And how can you pass it up? It's like,
Huh.
I don't want to take a road. I don't want to, I try to resist the whole fear of security. But sometimes I also wonder if that in some ways is unwise because security is important. You know what
I
I
don't think
mean?
there's
And
anything
so,
wrong with it. I think some people, it's like people are definitely in some jobs for security, and I think, or just like the potential payoff later on, so they can retire when they're like in their early 50s or whatever it is. That's not my path, but it's like it could be my path still. I don't know. Nobody can read the future. We don't have a crystal ball, you know. But one of the things that you talked about that really struck me was the whole idea that, you know, we go on these adventures and they almost feel like they're kind of pre-planned in some kind of way. And it's like, oh, I feel like I'm stuck because I can only explore in this direction or that direction. Actually reminded me of like the choose your own adventure books when I was a kid.
right.
I used to love those books, but what I would do is I would like literally just read the books and I would scan around for the pages to read the different endings because I wanted to know all the ways that I was potentially going to die and all the ways that I was going to potentially like win in the situation. So I'd play it a little bit and then I would just go through and I'd read all of like the endings because the endings were kind of funny sometimes. Like, oh, you got bit by a snake and then you walked for like 4 miles and thought you saw a plane and it wasn't a plane, or I don't know. It's like the
Right.
funny endings to stories. But the thing that I think maybe I was conditioned back then, it's like I could have just like at any time like just completely thrown the book on the ground and said, well, where do I want to go with this story? Where do I want to take this thing? Like, where do I could go anywhere with this. And I always have that choice. I always have the choice to do whatever it is that I want in my career. I can always quit any business that I start, and I can always start something new. So I think it's one of those it's one of those ever shifting things. It's tough for people like us, though. I think
Yeah, it
because
is. I mean,
it's the new shiny thing that I don't know if for me it's anyways, I can speak for myself only, but like for me, it's not anymore there's this new shiny thing that I want to try out. It's like maybe I always come from it like, well, maybe the skills that I have always had would make me perfectly suited for this. And I've never given myself permission to actually try doing this. So
mm,
sometimes for things, actually, this talk show is a good example of that. I just felt like, oh,
yeah.
it's like I've never had this thing where I could just turn on a mic, turn on a camera, say hi to everybody, and just, be myself for an
Be
hour or two,
yourself.
and just see
I
what comes
think
of it.
I think I think exploring is something that I've always wanted to give myself permission to do because you really don't know what you want to do until you explore. But also, I think it's okay to let things go and say this is not for you. I have
Yeah.
friends who sometimes I think we're too broad with I just want to be in the music industry. And the music industry is huge. I have friends who are professional drummers. They whether in college or in afterwards, they were working with this band and the band took off and they toured with that band. And then when that tour was over, somebody was like, hey, I saw you come tour with me. And next thing they know, they know people and people are sending them, invitations to tour really big artists. And it's like, oh, I'm grateful for this path. But in their heart, what they really want to be is a producer. And they've been spending their life trying to navigate how do I transition from being this professional musician to being the what I want to be, which is a music producer. I want to create these visions that are in my head and work with talented artists. And you would think going from one to the other is easy, but I know I can think of at least three drummers off the top of my head who in their heart of hearts would rather be producers and have been drumming for over 10 years professionally, making good money, but have not been able to figure out how to transition to where they
They
really
gotta
want to
stop
be.
taking the check, man. They gotta stop taking that check, is what it comes down to. You gotta stop taking the check and do the legwork. Just start climbing the ladder you want to climb. Honestly, it
Yeah,
really boils down to that. It's as simple as that. But it's hard. It's like that touring lifestyle is not compatible with starting to leg up as a producer.
working with artists in your area, building, being able to work on music morning to night and experimenting with sounds, continue having a set recording studio and bringing people in. It's not conducive to that. But it's also hard when a path comes your way that other people would kill for, that's paying you, that comes with a certain level of kudos because everyone's like, oh my God, you're like in the music industry. You're like living the dream and you're living a dream, but you're not living your dream, and so uh, I've always been sensitive to that and trying to make sure that am I on the path that I want to be on and how do I pivot or navigate or stop? And, I see that door open, but that's not the one I really want to walk into. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, hopefully, hopefully we end up staying on the path that we want to stay on and we don't let whatever programming we got growing up or
Right.
whatever programming is trying to constantly get in. I think there's a lot of outside pressure that people can kind of feel sometimes, especially if their life doesn't look exactly the way that they thought it was going to look. And so like, I just think it's like, if we can just resist the pressure from like ourselves and from other people and just stay true to what feels like the right business move for us in the moment, then you're going to know deep down inside what the hell yeses are, and you're going to know what the maybes are, and you're going to know what the no's are. The no's are easy, like, but
Yeah.
people still sometimes say yes to no's. It's so
Yeah.
stupid. It's like, but it's like a subtle no. It's like a,
Yeah.
and there's so many maybes that people say yes to. And
Yes. The maybes that get you.
dude, the maybes are the worst, because the maybes are like, for somebody like me, the maybes are like, oh, this is somebody who's super cool. I like them. I appreciate them a lot as a person. There's some potential value in the collaboration, but it's not that there may be no budget. There may be just stuff business wise that is not going to make it like a very attractive situation when compared to the hell yeses. And
Yeah.
it's like there's so many opportunities that come to me these days that I have to say no to, even if it's like, oh, maybe I could do this. Maybe it
Right.
would feel right. It's like, no, I really have to say no. And it sucks because it's like, some people might take that personally. It's really not on me whether people take stuff personally. But if I can say no to that situation, then they're free to go and find the person that's going to help them get where they need to go.
Right.
And I'm not that person. If I think that the no's, if you take the too many no jobs, you're just going to be resentful. You're gonna hate. I don't know, like some of these drummer friends of yours, like maybe they're in that camp to a certain way, because it's really like everything they keep taking the check, even though it's really like going completely counter to what it is that they want to do.
Right.
So it's like, but I understand it's like there's life pressures, there's insurance, there's kids, there's whatever it is, whatever the situation, there's mortgage payments, whatever it is. You gotta make all that stuff work out. But to live with yourself, you gotta be doing the things that feel right. And if you do too many things that don't feel right in your lifetime, then it can get to a situation where you can get kind of resentful of it, and it's just not good. Like, it's going to make you're not going to be able to show up for the hell yeses the way you need to show up for the hell yeses. And you do need to show up big time for those. Actually, you probably need to show up for the hell yeses way more than you need to for the hell no's. It's like,
right.
because it's like those are the times where it's like these are the things you really want to be doing. So you really got to put all your eggs in the basket and really like give it your all. I feel like those are the situations you really want to work hard in. At least I feel like that's what I would want to do if I was looking back at my life, and what's the kind of person I do think about this sometimes. Is like, what do I want to, looking back at my life, how do I want to view how I handled this situation or that situation, or just like my philosophy on business. And I feel like that's one of the things for me. It's like, I want to say that I was like fair. I want to say that I was an honest business person. And I want to say that like I did the projects that were interesting to me, and that I felt like I could really help somebody out with. And if I can help somebody out, then that's great. I mean, honestly, that's what it all comes down to when it comes to business in the music industry. It's people helping people. And if you have a solution or some type of product that they can use, then that's like something that you can exchange for money. It's like so simple, right? but you got to find that thing that you can do that the people will pay for too. So that's the other
Very
thing.
true.
Man, it's like it's a really long conversation. Fortunately, we have this talk show. We get a chance to talk about these longer subjects a little more. It's fun. It's been fun, man. I
Is,
enjoy
and
this.
it's very introspective, but also like it's I think it's helpful because I don't think we're the only two people that struggle with this. I think it's a creative issue, and so it's
Definitely.
good to just talk through it.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. It's interesting. We're still, for anybody who is tuning. I see we have one person. Hi, whoever you are. Welcome. And we've gone between like we've had less than 10 the whole time, but it's like we're just starting this thing out. We don't really know what this show is going to be, exactly what the format is or anything like that. We're giving it a shot and just turning the cameras on, seeing what happens. And today it's just been nice. Like I don't know, I kind of like even though we were talking about like, oh, the show is not going to be about the music industry at all. We're going to talk about mostly like stuff that's just fun and. It's like really hard to get away from it, man. It's hard to get away from it. It's good to have these conversations. I feel like these are, I don't know, maybe these are the kinds of conversations we need to keep having, and it's good to have them live because people can maybe benefit from them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, or at least just go wherever. Sometimes let it go where it takes us. It's like you're riding a wave and just see where it goes. But it was a good. I like this chat. It's been good. It's good.
Yeah,
for
we
me.
had a good chat. We had a good chat. I think let's I got a couple things I want to talk to you about offline. So because we're going to be hanging out at Durango, let's wrap this one up for tonight, and we'll be back. I think we're going to plan. We're going to. Sounds like we're going to try to do some kind of live.
Let's try to do something
next
Thursday.
I think
that would be great.
It might be a disaster. The internet might suck there. Who knows? It might be great though. We might have a good time. We might end up like interviewing a bunch of music supervisors and stuff. We'll see how it goes, everybody. But thanks for tuning in. And if you caught the replay, we appreciate you. If you want more information on us, you can find it right at the link that's in the corner there, beatsandbourbon.club. That's beatsandbourbon.club. And thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. All right.
See ya.
See ya.